So, in 2010, you wrote a song, The Message, and in there you say, I'm going to read it because she's too embarrassed to sing now. The headphone is connected to the headphones. The headphones are connected to the iPhone. The iPhone is connected to the internet, connected to Google, connected to the government. And that was right. So why were you interested enough to write about this in 2010?
Well, I think at the time I was living in California, and it was quite close to Burning Man. And I think Eric Schmidt must have had like a bad LSD trip, and I just kind of tuned into the vibes. I don't know. But no, it was like general, you know, I felt like something was bubbling, but nobody talked about it or said, you know, we're too scared to speak about it, I think, because of being accused of being paranoid and crazy, and, you know, it's not something people kind of went out on their own. I felt as though that I was already a bit of an outsider, so it was something that I could probably say and get away with. And yeah, and it was, you know, the definitely happy when the Wikileaks happened to be like, yes.
Yeah, and I recall you wrote some blog messages, right? When the Snowden documents came out, there was just all these descriptions that said that you had been paranoid, the whole page. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I collected those.
We were thinking of doing that for me and this book, actually, but we do something else. So if I just read a bit more, you know, this is an extremely rather detailed book, and I don't think I can do it justice by reading it. And also, I've been to some book launches before, and it gets really tedious when an author like sits there for like 20 minutes reading from their damn book that they're so in love with, when everyone else wants to go and have a party.
Why didn't you just design a computer game?
Yeah. Yeah, I should have made it a computer game, right? Yeah.
Right. So, you know, this book centers around a conversation that you had 3 years ago. Just to, you know, I don't think many people here have had the opportunity to read it or pick it up yet. But, you know, there's a very interesting cast of characters that comes to the estate that you were staying in at Von Smith's place up in Ellingham. And I, you know, think that those people that come along with Eric Schmidt as his entourage are important to kind of point out who they are and what their associations are with Schmidt. I know you don't mention this in the actual book itself, but Lisa Shields at the time, maybe it wasn't apparent, but she's actually his girlfriend and kind of a polyamorous setup with his wife, with Wendy. Wendy wasn't there.
Which Wendy?
I don't know.
Sorry, that's a joke, off-color joke.
So you introduce it. You talk about Google's worldview as you just kind of summarized in the last 10 minutes. But
perhaps I could tell that story very briefly about that meeting. So there's sort of an interesting narrative backbone to the book.
I'm curious to know how you felt with them arriving at Ellingham, and what you thought about it before and after. We'll get to that though. But what this occasion of them coming, what it meant to you at first.
Well, it was back in 2011. The Arab Spring was kicking off. Occupy. I was under house arrest. There were lots of death threats. I don't know if you remember this strange neo-McCarthyist fervor that existed in the United States, where Joseph Biden was calling me a high-tech terrorist, Hillary Clinton saying that that we were a threat to the whole international community in relation to our publications, and O'Reilly was saying I should be droned. And then there were serious proposals before the
US Congress, bills before the US Congress to declare me and all my staff enemy combatants that could be killed at will and kidnapped from Europe, and statements saying that in the Washington Post they should be kidnapped from Europe and they should be assassinated and all this stuff. It was a very strange moment. There are still, that some of that still lingers on, but this was the sort of just after the peak of that fervor. And Eric Schmidt said that he wanted to come and visit, and the pretext was an interview about this book that they wanted to produce about which way the world was going. And that later on I came to look at that book and think about it, as I mentioned before, and it's Google's trying to position itself as America's geopolitical visionary. It's a book whose audience isn't designed to be common readers. Its audience is designed to be Washington. And